Welcome to PRAJNA SPARKS special series 59 Days of Healing, where we explore one maxim from the Tibetan Lojong text, 7 points for healing dualistic mind each day to integrate the practice into our lives. Today is day 53. We're in the midst of point 7, tips. Maxim 53 reads, give up inconstancy. This one is pretty straightforward. We all have a sense that being consistent in something that we value, something that is wholesome and healthy for us, that we want to embrace, is a good way to bring that into our lives in a fluid way. This is certainly true for Dharma practice. Of course, there's differences in the course of our spiritual journey and in our lives. But generally speaking, what this maxim is asking us to do is to look to our consistency or inconstancy. Once in a while, we get into a jag and we meditate for hours on end, and that lasts a whole 3 days. And then weeks and months go by before we take it up again. It's not saying that that kind of practice has no benefit whatsoever. It's just saying that it doesn't carry the power of a steady dedication. This is true about meditation or any other spiritual practice. It's equally true about healing dualistic mind. One of the examples that is often used in the teachings, the old time ways of lighting a fire with a flint stone. You would strike one stone against another and you'd get a spark, and then you'd be able to get a fire in some way that is incomprehensible to me because I'm a city girl and I have no idea how any of these things work. But you get the picture. Now, even I know that you have to keep rubbing those stones together to get the heat to build up and the spark to come off of the particular kind of stone. If you have the stones on your desk and you whack them together one day and then you come back a few days later and whack them again, and then you come back a couple hours later and whack them again, it doesn't build. That energy just doesn't have the force to build the friction, the heat, the spark, and the flame that is its intended purpose. This is an example of what this maxim is talking about. The inconstancy is not serving us when what we want to do is to heal. This is true for physical healing as well. If we fall and get a cut on our knee or whatever, you don't just heal one little piece of it and come back and do another little piece. And in the interim, it's just gotten worse, maybe even infected. So not only have you not healed, but it may have even accumulated more to heal in the process, those intervals between whatever treatment you're using. This is very much the case in the Lojong practice of healing dualistic mind. When we see ourselves going from one extreme to another, overexerting ourselves some of the time, and then being so exhausted by that or anything else that we're not able to engage at all other parts of the time, that's a really good sign that dualistic mind is at the controls. It's either telling us, oh, you're not good enough, you have to do more, or it's saying, oh, you're not good enough, you may as well stop. Do we hear that common message there? You're not good enough. I'm here to tell you that you are. Your nature is Buddha. The more you are consistent with connecting to that truth in whatever ways, whatever methods work for you, the quicker, the happier, and the more brightly you'll manifest that Buddha nature for yourself and all to see.
Oh, how lovely. I was thinking about two analogies to this that I think I can very much relate to. I was thinking about weight training, lifting weights. And when I have done weight training, which I admittedly have not done very consistently recently, and after I've been doing it for a while, if I stop for some time, it's really hard to get back to the level that I had been at, that I have to start very slowly and work my way up. And then just doing it consistently is the way to keep it at that level. I was also thinking about writing. There's a book, something like Write Your Dissertation in 15 Minutes a Day or something like that. And because it turns out that just doing it every day is what makes a difference. Because if you write for 6 hours and then you don't do anything for 3 weeks, just getting your head back into it is so hard. These are two examples I can think of in my own life that seem very much aligned with what you're talking about. One of the things I notice about both of those things is that I am more consistent if I have some supports for that. If there's someone else doing it with me, or if I have the right equipment, or whatever it is that's going to help me to do that. So I'm wondering if you have thoughts about what kinds of supports people can use to do more of this constancy.
Certainly. Before we get to those, I want to look at your examples because they're really good ones. And one of the things that studying Buddha Dharma in the ways done in the Tibetan lineages, that was very helpful for me. Examples are beautiful. They bring a picture to your head and you immediately say, oh, yeah, I get it. But one thing I never really did was look at how the example is not like what it's talking about, because that also helps us understand what is going on in that base thing that the example is helping us to connect with. Using the example of the weights, how is it similar? There's a question of atrophying. The muscles atrophy if we don't use them. It takes a while when we go back to weightlifting to recover from that atrophy and then build on that. There's a quality of that with this, but the difference is that the qualities of the true nature of mind never atrophy. They are always 100% present all the time in the same pristine, excellent way. It may feel as if they're atrophied, but what's happening is that the stuff encrusted on it is just getting thicker. So, what happens in the situation of working with mind in a way that's not consistent is that before we've had a chance to heal and clear away what's disserving us, more stuff is building up from that habit. It's a subtle difference, but the important difference is that there is never a point where you say, I've lost it. There's no way to rebuild these muscles. I'm too old. Even if you're young and you're working out every single day, there is a physical limitation. There's only so far that the body can go. There's some kind of limit to how much weight even the strongest person can lift. There is no limit to the excellent qualities of the true nature of mind. This is something that you can take out to the optimum beauty and pristine qualities. That gives a sense of what's different in that example that helps us understand it. The writing example I really like because that is really similar to what's happening here. We get into a space, into an atmosphere that it's kind of self-perpetuating. That atmosphere allows us to encourage ourselves subconsciously without even making an effort. The more we do it, the more we're able to do because we enjoy it. Enjoying virtue is diligence, enthusiasm. So, one of the ways to be consistent about it is to enjoy it. How do we enjoy it? By finding the ways of working, in this case, on healing dualistic mind that really speak to our hearts. And that might mean that we have to study. That might mean having a spiritual friend that we talk to, engaging with a teacher and spiritual counsel so you can get individual advice, someone who's been there before and can help you with your particular circumstances. Sometimes having someone who's looking at it from the outside in, so to speak, is helpful. Then, generally speaking, in Buddhist practice, the Sangha or practice community in this case is also really helpful. Having a center that you go to for group meditation or a regular class that you attend on Zoom can really help with that sense of consistency. Then there's also very practical things to do. There's lots of information in habit science, which is used for things like getting yourself to write every day and going to the gym as a certain number of times a week. Same exact things work for spiritual practice. You can put those things in. One of the simplest things that I have found to be effective is simply noting when you did the practice. It could be a post it note. I'm not talking about something fancy. Every day, every hour, whichever interval you prefer, that you find yourself working with the maxims or doing the formal meditation practices, whatever is in that scope of your practice, put a check on your post it note. It's not even about counting or not counting. There are studies that show that there is something about a physical act of recording that reinforces whatever it is that you're following with that act. And of course, you can get very fancy and have fancy journals and all these other things to do, but that can go over the top pretty quickly. Rather than go over the top, just do simple everyday things that help you build the practice into a space of joy. When you can tap into the joy, it's like rolling a ball downhill.
This has been Yeshe and Tanya on day 53 of Prajna Sparks special series 59 Days of Healing. Tune in daily for more maxims from the Tibetan Lojong text, 7 Points for Healing Dualistic Mind. Check the episode notes for more resources, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Prajna Sparks, and email us, sparks@prajnafire.com, with any questions. May all beings benefit.